With Mark Coleman. It's honors weekend here at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, and you're going to be honored this weekend with the Medal of Courage. But let's talk a little wrestling. Let's start things out. Tell me a little bit about your career, the parts of your wrestling career that you take a lot of pride in. Obviously, you were successful in the high school, college, and at the Olympic stage. What were you proud of during your years as an Olympic and amateur wrestler?
I was proud of a lot of things I did. I grew up in Slade, Ohio, so at about 9 years of age, I would go up to the World Cup, and I would be mesmerized
Yeah, that's
by
great wrestling.
by the Russians, man. The Russians mesmerized me. Of course, I love the Americans, but I knew that's who I was going to have to beat to get my goal of being an Olympic champion. And then, I put in the time. I worked very hard. I was dedicated, and I got to spend time with some great American wrestlers on the Olympic team, and winning the national championships for Ohio State. That was my first real big high. I won states in high school. That was big, but winning the national championship was way harder than I ever anticipated. It took me to my 5th year to get that, and when I did, I started feeling like I belonged. And then I went on a trip to Russia with USA Wrestling, 21 days, and that kind of turned me into a man. And then, winning the world trials in 1991 was the next big thing. And then I came close to my dream of being the best in the world at something. I fell short to the Russian in the finals.
Yeah,
1-0.
but you had a good battle with him, didn't you?
Yeah, but it was amazing. The whole career was amazing. Wrestling is the greatest sport in the world, bar none. I've been saying that for a long time. And then when I got into the MMA, I preached wrestling to the world, and just so happy to see our sport come storming back so fast.
So what are your memories from the Olympic Games? I mean, very few people have ever gone and competed in Olympics. You had to beat a star just to make that team, Bill Shear,
Yeah.
right? I mean, talk about what that was like for you. I know you didn't get the medal you wanted, but what was it like being an Olympian?
Well, just making the team was a big dream. And then just prior to making the team, Bill Shear, one of my nemesis, I helped him when I was fresh out of college. I helped him train for his Olympics and stuff, and then he retired. And then he seen that I was about to make the team, so he came out of retirement. And yeah, I felt the pressure big time. I knew it was going to be him. And then to win a 2 out of 3 in a 6-5 overtime match, I was overwhelmed with the emotions at that. And then I really think I peaked at the Olympic trials, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I just didn't have it at the Olympics. I was underweight. I had to move up to 220 because Chris Campbell came out of retirement. And I realized I didn't think I was going to be able to beat him. So I was the opposite of most wrestlers. I was like Bruce Bumgarner. I was eating all the time to try to stay up close to 220.
Yeah.
And mentally, I just didn't perform. I didn't feel great physically, but I accepted it. I did accept it at first. I fell off the wagon big time after the Olympics, and I wasted 3 of the best years of my life doing nothing. And my alcoholism was kicking in, and it took over. But fortunately, I was able to regroup and get it back and go on and do some good things.
The UFC, when you were involved, you're in the UFC Hall of Fame, by the way, right?
Yes.
You were one of the leaders that really built that thing. You were in the early years, and you ground and pound and some of the things that you designed, and it's still a big part of that sport. What was it like those tough early years when the sport was just getting established?
To me, it was like the greatest thing that ever happened. I was 31 years old. My wrestling career was coming to an end. No money in wrestling, of course. And then all of a sudden I have an opportunity to use my wrestling skills. And basically I knew from the beginning it was going to be a wrestling match, take away the rules, and that's how I'm going to dominate people. And I preached wrestling. I promoted the sport. Everybody promoted their individual sport. And I wanted to show the world how great of a combat sport wrestling is. And to be able to do that makes me feel really good, because wrestling has saved my life many times.
So what are you most proud of during your MMA days? Were there any specific fights or a situation where you came out of there and said, this is good. I did what I needed to do. Any one of those battles that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I never said I did what I could do. I always wanted more. That was my problem. I was very selfish and greedy and wanted more. But winning the UFC 10, the first show was an eye-opener. It was brutally awakening. I couldn't believe how tough a human being could be because in UFC 10 in the finals, another wrestler, Dom Fry, I just found out how tough a human could be. He was the toughest man I've ever fought, and I was really getting scared in there because I thought I was going to have to kill him, and I'm not a killer. I'm a winner, but not a killer. And then, thank God, finally Big John pulled me off him, and that was about as high as I could get. And then I won the UFC's first heavyweight title, which is prestigious, but I didn't see it as being my biggest match. No offense to Dan Severn, but it was a little bit past his prime. I knew the Russians were right around the corner, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to be the best in the world. In beating him, I got proclaimed that, but I knew it wasn't the official title. I would have to beat a Russian, which after I did beat Severn, it went to my head, and I started celebrating and partying and doing the bad things that affected me my whole career. But 3 straight losses shook me up, woke me up, and then I got cut from the UFC, champion to chump just like that. But then Pride picked me up, put me in their Pride Grand Prix 2000, probably the biggest tournament to this date of names ever accumulated. But I wasn't expected to win. I wasn't expected to do anything, but I put 9 months of solid training into that. And when I'm in shape and when I train hard, I'm not going to get beat. And then I ended up winning the Pride Grand Prix and beating Igor Vovchanchyn in the finals, a Russian, undefeated Russian.
The Russian you wanted, right?
It was unbelievable how it came together, and they tried all they could to keep me from winning that title. They did not want me to win it, so they changed rules the night before the event. They went from a 20-minute time limit where I had visualized I'm going to beat this guy. I'm going to have Igor in the finals. I'm going to ground and pound him for 20 minutes and win the belt. But they made it a no time limit match, which I had no clue how I was going to beat this guy. And then they took away my best weapon, knees to the head of a grounded opponent. I visualized beating him like that, but now if he's on his knees, face down, you can't knee him. But if he's on his back, you can knee him. Well, it didn't make any sense because all he has to do is belly down. But somehow the Lord put me on top of him, stuck in the corner where he couldn't belly down. And I wasn't even sure if I could knee him. And then I threw the first one to find out, and I ended up throwing 16 of them. And I was very overwhelmed with emotion. And to me, that was the pinnacle of my MMA career. And I kept going for paychecks, but I was a journeyman in my opinion.
Well, you've seen the growth of 2 sports, right? Wrestling and MMA. What are your thoughts about both of those sports right now, where they are from when you were participating in them?
I'm very proud to be part of both of them. Wrestling, without wrestling, I wouldn't be sitting here today for sure. I mean, it saved my life many times. And the house fire that I was in with my parents, without my wrestling background and what I learned from wrestling and what I got from wrestling, and the fact that I was training again. I went 12 years without working out one time. Fortunately, I began training again, because if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have been able to probably get myself out of the fire, let alone get my mom and dad out. So just feeling blessed because, God was guiding me that night, and I continue to let him guide me today.
Well, and the Medal of Courage, they point at that situation where you saved your family and you went in multiple times, right? Was any fear in doing that, or you just knew you had to do something to take care of the people you love?
That's what I'm talking about. Wrestling and my mentality prepared me. It took me, when I woke up at 4 a.m., I had no clue it was a fire. It was hot in the house, and I was in the middle of a nightmare trying to figure out what was going on. And then I heard some glass windows fall from up above, and I grabbed the doorknob and burnt my hand. And up until then, I was just scared. And then when I realized it was a fire, and I knew it was everywhere inside the walls,
Right.
it was just immediate. I turned it on and I ran because I knew I had very little time, and I was able to I was in and out three different times in the house, and I got my mom and dad out, and then I went to get my dog out. I couldn't find him, and I had to really. I fell down a couple times trying to get out the last time, and finally I seen the freedom of the outside, and when I made it, it was overwhelming emotion. I was messed up way more than I thought. I thought I was fine, but I wasn't fine, and
You had some recovery time on that one, didn't you? I mean, when you were able to figure out exactly what happened and what you did, what was your comeback from having to deal with that kind of amazing challenge, which is all you can say it is, right, man?
Yeah, well, I had been on a mission, to get myself back in peak shape for a long time. And fortunately, that happened because I would have had nothing to get my parents out. So I was in good shape. I had just come off my 5th hip operation that year.
Yep.
It kept getting infected. Luckily, it was 3 weeks after the surgery instead of 2 because it would have caused problems. Everything just fell into place. And then, I was able to suck it up and get my parents out, and I forget what the question was.
Well, it was just you had to recover, right?
Oh, yeah. So
clearly it affected you physically and clearly emotionally when you have to go through that kind of a drama.
Emotionally, yes. I'm going to say that it was.
It's still with you.
Yeah, it was traumatizing in a good way. It was the highest of highs and the lowest of lows at the same time.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how bad I was until I got to the hospital, and they had never seen so much black smoke on a man's lungs.
Yep.
But they were able to go down there and blast most of it off. And that saved my recovery big time. If they wouldn't have been able to get the tar off, it could have been lifelong.
Yep.
But because of that, I told them to let me out of the hospital in 5 days. I got things to do.
Yeah, and you're still doing it, man. Let me ask you this. I mean, is it really satisfying or enjoying for you to come here and be with your wrestling family, and they're recognizing one real big challenge? I mean, you had a life full of challenges, right? Your courage wasn't just in the fire. You've had the courage to make your life come back from some downs that a lot of people may not understand. But is this weekend special for you? You looking forward to spending time with your wrestling brethren?
Yeah, I haven't been around wrestling since I left, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that was my family. And then I got the call from Leroy Smith, and it was just a beautiful, hearing from him and what he said. It meant the world to me because, wrestling, it shaped me, it formed me into the man I am. And to get recognized for an award like this means the world to me because I haven't seen these guys. I went to a different sport, but I never forget wrestling. I still follow it. It's the greatest sport in the world, and I can't be more happy to be here and be receiving this award.
Well, we're looking forward to spending time with you, Mark. I haven't seen you in a number of years, Mark. It's great seeing you,
Thank
and I'm
you.
just so happy that you're having the opportunity to do this. So you have any friends or family coming down? Anybody that's going to be here with you?
Yeah, I got Roy Salger. He was a good friend of mine. It was crazy. You got Royce and Kevin Jackson, two of my best friends, and
Yeah.
boy, they didn't like each other, but
That's all right.
it was beautiful. I roomed with both of them, and it depends on who won in that. So I just, you know, I got some good friends from wrestling, and I love them all, and proud of them, and just blessed to be here and grateful.
Well, I appreciate your time, Mark. Thanks for letting me do the interview, and it's good to have you back.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you.